The emergency alarm screamed through the Galactic Council chambers. Representative Tae-yang dropped his datapad and ran toward the main hall. His heart pounded in his chest. Something terrible was happening. The massive circular room was filled with alien species from across the galaxy. The Vrel stood tall with their forearms crossed. The Morai floated in their containment fields, their gaseous bodies swirling with worry. The Thaylens shifted their crystalline forms, and the light reflected off them in sharp angles. Ambassador Jiwoo was already at the human delegation table. Her face was tight with concern. She had been with the Galactic Council for 20 years. She had seen many things, but the look in her eyes told Tae-yang this was different. "What's happening?" Tae-yang whispered as he took his seat beside her. "The Void Swarm," Jiwoo said quietly. "They've taken another system. The Kelthris colonies are gone. 12 billion Vrel civilians. Just gone." Tae-yang felt his stomach turn. He had heard rumors about the Void Swarm for months. An enemy from another dimension. A species that ate entire worlds. But the Council had always said they were handling it. They said the elder species had superior technology. They said humanity should not worry. The Council leader, an ancient Morai named Kelthos, appeared on the central platform. His gaseous form pulsed with dark colors. "Members of the Council, we face extinction. The Void Swarm has destroyed 47 systems in the past 3 months. Our fleets cannot stop them. They adapt to every weapon. They regenerate faster than we can damage them." The room erupted in panic. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. The translation system struggled to keep up. A hologram appeared above the chamber. It showed a battle. Tae-yang watched as beautiful ships, far more advanced than anything humanity had built, fired weapons at massive organic vessels. The bioships were covered in dark armor that looked like infected flesh. They absorbed the energy weapons and barely slowed down. Then the Void Swarm ships released smaller creatures, thousands of them. They swarmed over the defending fleet like insects. Within minutes, the advanced ships were torn apart. The organic vessels moved forward and began consuming the debris. They grew larger. "By all the stars," Tae-yang breathed. Jiwoo leaned forward. She raised her hand to speak. The Council leader ignored her. He always did. "The Council must pool all resources," Kelthos announced. "We need every ship, every weapon, every soldier." "What about humanity?" a Thaylen delegate asked. His crystalline voice was sharp. "They have been part of this council for 80 years. Should they not contribute?" Several species made sounds that the translators registered as laughter. Commander Tholas of the Vrel stood up. His massive form made the platform shake. "The humans? They still use chemical propulsion and kinetic weapons. What could they possibly offer? We need real military power, not primitive technology." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Jiwoo stood up anyway. Her voice was steady. "Humanity offers our full support to the Council. We have resources that might help." "Sit down, human," Tholas said. His forearms waved dismissively. "This is a war for advanced species. Your kind should focus on evacuation plans. When we fall, you will have perhaps a month before the swarm reaches Earth." Tae-yang saw Jiwoo's jaw clench. He had seen that look before. She was furious but controlled. The session ended badly. The Council broke into arguing factions. The Vrel wanted to retreat and fortify their core worlds. The Morai wanted to build bigger weapons. The Thaylens suggested trying to communicate with the swarm. Nobody had a real solution. Jiwoo grabbed Tae-yang's arm. "Come with me." They walked through the station corridors in silence. Jiwoo led him to a private communication room. She sealed the door and activated the quantum encryption. "Contact Earth immediately," she said. "Direct line to Defense Minister Hyun-woo. Maximum security." Tae-yang's fingers flew over the console. Within seconds, a hologram appeared. Defense Minister Hyun-woo looked like he had not slept in days. His office on Earth was dark, except for the glow of multiple screens. "Ambassador," Hyun-woo said, "I watched the council session. They rejected our offer. They laughed at us," Jiwoo said bitterly. "Sir, they are dying out there. The swarm is winning, but they still see us as children playing with toys." Hyun-woo was quiet for a moment. Behind him, another figure stepped into view. Admiral Da-eun. She was younger than Tae-yang expected. Her uniform was perfect. Her eyes were cold. "Perhaps we should let them die," Da-eun said calmly. "We could use the time to fortify our own systems." "Admiral?" Tae-yang gasped. "She's not wrong," Hyun-woo said. "The Council has treated humanity with contempt since first contact. They restricted our expansion. They limited our military. They called us violent primitives. Why should we save them? Jiwoo stepped closer to the hologram. Because we're better than that. Because we know what it means to face extinction. Because if the swarm wins, humanity dies too. And because... She paused. Because we have the dead fleet. The room went silent. Taeyang looked between them. What is the dead fleet? Nobody answered him. Admiral Dayun tilted her head. Ambassador Jiwoo, that fleet does not officially exist. Using it would reveal capabilities we have hidden for decades. The galaxy would never trust us again. They don't trust us now, Jiwoo shot back. But they need us, even if they're too proud to admit it. Hyunwoo rubbed his face. He looked exhausted. The president wants a full briefing. The Security Council is meeting in 1 hour. Admiral, prepare your assessment. Yes, sir, Doan said. She looked directly at Taeyang through the hologram. Representative Taeyang, what you are about to learn is classified at the highest level. If you speak of it to anyone without authorization, you will be imprisoned for treason. Do you understand? Taeyang swallowed hard. I understand. Daun nodded. The dead fleet consists of 63 warships built over the past 40 years in secret facilities beyond Neptune. These ships violate 17 galactic conventions. They carry weapons that the Council banned. Weapons we agreed to never develop. Why? Taeyang asked. Why would we build such things? Because we learned something when we met the galaxy, Jiwoo said softly. We learned that we are the weakest species in the Council. We learned that the elder races see us as barely civilized. We learned that if a real threat came, they would abandon us. She looked at the hologram of Earth behind Hyunwoo. So we prepared. We built ships that could fight wars the galaxy is not ready for. We created weapons that would make us strong enough to never be dismissed again. 3 hours later, Taeyang sat in the Council observation deck alone. He watched the stars and tried to process everything. Earth's Security Council had voted. The decision was made. Humanity would deploy the dead fleet. His datapad chimed. A message from Admiral Dayun to the entire Galactic Council. It was short. The human military is deploying a fleet to assist against the Void Swarm. We will arrive at the front lines in 3 weeks. Prepare coordinates for joint operations. Humanity stands with the galaxy. Taeyang wondered if anyone at the Council would take the message seriously. Probably not. They would see it as a token gesture. A few primitive ships coming to watch the real powers fight. But Taeyang had seen Admiral Daun's eyes. He had heard the tone in her voice. Whatever was coming, it was not a token gesture. Somewhere beyond Neptune in the cold darkness of the Kuiper Belt, something was waking up, something the galaxy had never seen before. Taeyang looked at his reflection in the observation window. What have we become? He whispered to himself. Nobody answered. But deep down he already knew. Humanity had become what it needed to be, and soon, the galaxy would learn what that meant. The transport shuttle flew through absolute darkness. Admiral Daun sat alone in the passenger compartment, staring at the datapad in her hands. The numbers made her sick. 60,000 crew members, 63 warships, all of them about to be revealed to a galaxy that would call them monsters. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. Admiral approaching Facility Black 9. Visual confirmation in 30 seconds. Dian looked out the window. At first, she saw nothing but stars. Then the lights came on. The shipyard stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Massive construction frames held vessels that should never have existed. Each ship was painted flat black, designed to absorb sensor scans. They looked like predators waiting in the dark. By the stars, the pilot whispered. I've been in the military for 15 years. I never knew. Nobody knew, Dawn said quietly. That was the point. The shuttle docked at the command station. Daeun stepped out into the hangar bay. Hundreds of crew members stood at attention. These were not regular military. These were volunteers. People who had agreed to serve on ships that officially did not exist. People who understood they might die and never be remembered. Captain Dong-hyun stepped forward and saluted. He was a big man with scars on his hands and a smile that did not reach his eyes. Admiral on deck. At ease, Daeun said. She looked at the assembled crews. You all know why you're here. The galaxy is dying. The Void Swarm is winning. The elder species asked for our help, then laughed at us. Some crew members shifted uncomfortably. We're going anyway, Daeun continued. Not because they deserve it, but because if we don't, humanity dies too. She paused. What we do in the coming weeks will change how the galaxy sees us forever. We will save them, but they will never forgive us for it. Dong-hyun spoke up. Permission to speak freely, Admiral? Granted. Good, I'm tired of being laughed at. Dong-hyun's smile turned sharp. Let's show them what humans can do. The crews cheered. It was not a happy sound. It was the sound of people who had been holding anger inside for too long. Taeyeon toured the flagship with Dong-hyun. The ship was called the Machiavelli's Vengeance. It was massive, 3 times larger than any human vessel the Council had seen. The hull was covered in weapons that should have been destroyed decades ago. She's beautiful, Dong-hyun said proudly. Ugly as hell, but beautiful. Tell me about the weapons, Da-eun said. Dong-hyun led her to the armory deck. Engineers were loading massive torpedoes into launch tubes. Each torpedo was marked with warning symbols. Antimatter warheads. Enough yield to crack a small moon. The Council banned them 80 years ago, said they were too dangerous. They were right, Da-eun said. Yes, ma'am. But we built them anyway. They moved to the next section. A massive cannon ran through the center of the ship. Our main weapon. We call it the gravity hammer. It creates a focused gravitational pulse that can compress matter. We tested it once on an asteroid. Turned it into a black hole the size of a marble. Da-eun felt cold. How many shots can it fire? 3 before the power systems need to recharge. And, Admiral? Dong-hyun's voice dropped. Each shot takes 5 years off the life of everyone on the ship. The radiation is that intense. They stood in silence for a moment. Show me the Reaper protocol, Da-eun said. Dong-hyun's smile vanished. Are you sure? The President ordered it sealed. I need to know what options we have. They took a lift down to the lowest deck. The section was marked with biohazard symbols. Armed guards stood at the entrance. Inside, Fleet Engineer Wonshik was working at a console. He was young, barely 30, but his eyes were old. Admiral, Wonshik said. He did not salute. Down here, normal protocol did not matter. Show me, Da-eun said. Wonshik activated a hologram. It showed a complex weapon system. The Reaper protocol is a quantum entanglement disruptor. We developed it during the Titan Rebellion. The idea is simple. Many species use quantum entanglement for communication. If we can disrupt it across an entire species simultaneously. They all die at once, Da-eun finished. Yes, ma'am. Every individual. Every ship. Every organism. All at the same moment. Wonshik looked sick. We tested it on a colony of insects. Worked perfectly. Every insect within light years died instantly. Why didn't we destroy this? Da-eun asked. Because the President knew, Wonshik said. Someday we might face an enemy where mercy is not an option. This is that weapon. Da-eun stared at the hologram. Seal it. Nobody activates this without my direct authorization. Yes, ma'am. The next day, Da-eun met with the ship commanders in the briefing room. Commander Haewon of the stealth destroyer Silent Prayer sat quietly in the corner. She never spoke unless necessary. Her ship was designed for reconnaissance and assassination. It could slip past any sensor net in the galaxy. Captain Seung Min commanded the carrier Iron Rice Bowl. His ship held 300 fighter craft and 2,000 pilots. He was older than the others, with gray hair and steady hands. Lieutenant Bora led the fighter wings. She was the youngest officer in the room at 25. But she had the most combat experience. She had been fighting since she was 17 in the Titan Rebellion. Here's what we know about the Void Swarm, Da-eun began. She displayed reconnaissance footage. They are biological ships. They regenerate. They adapt. They consume. Every weapon the elder species has used becomes less effective over time. So we hit them with weapons they've never seen, Dong-hyun said. Exactly. But we have to be smart. The swarm learns fast. Da-eun looked at each commander. We use kinetic weapons moving at relativistic speeds. We use nanomachines. We use biological weapons. We use psychological warfare. Psychological warfare, Seung-min asked. Against a hive mind? Pain still registers. Fear still exists, even in a collective consciousness. Da-eun pulled up more data. We make them afraid. We make them hurt. We make them want to run. Haewon spoke for the first time. Her voice was flat. And if they don't run, then we kill them all, Da-eun said simply. The room went quiet. Any other questions? Da-eun asked. Bora raised her hand. Admiral, what about the council? When they see what we can do, what we're willing to do. Let me worry about politics, Daun said. You worry about survival. Humanity has been underestimated for 80 years. That ends now. The briefing ended. The commanders left to prepare their ships. Daun stayed behind with Wanshik. Admiral, can I ask you something? Wanshik said. Go ahead. Are we the bad guys in this story? Daun was quiet for a long time. She thought about the Titan rebellion. She thought about the 3 million people who died in that war. She thought about her family, killed in the first wave of attacks. She thought about what humanity had become. I don't know, she said finally. But we're the ones who survive. Maybe that's all that matters. 20 days later, the dead fleet was ready. 63 ships, 60,000 crew members, weapons that violated every law the galaxy had written. Daun stood on the bridge of the Machioli's Vengeance. Dong-hyun was at the captain's chair. The crew worked quietly at their stations. All ships report ready, the communications officer announced. Open a channel to Earth, Daun ordered. Direct line to Defense Minister Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo appeared on the screen. Behind him, Daun could see the President and the Security Council. Admiral Daun, the President said. You have full authorization. The fate of humanity rests with you. Understood, sir. Admiral, Hyunwoo added, the Council still doesn't believe we can help. They expect us to watch from a distance. Show them what we are. Daun saluted. Yes, sir. The channel closed. All ships, Daun broadcast across the fleet. This is Admiral Daun. We are going to war. We will face an enemy that has destroyed civilizations far older than ours. We will use weapons the galaxy fears. We will do things that make us look like monsters. She paused. But we will win, because that's what humans do. We survive. Jump engines charging, the navigation officer reported. Daun sat in her command chair. She thought about what she had told Wanshik. About being the bad guys. About survival. Execute jump, she ordered. The dead fleet tore through spacetime. Reality bent around them as they moved faster than light. They were heading toward the war zone. Toward the void swarm. Toward a future where the galaxy would never laugh at humanity again. In the darkness of her quarters, Daun recorded a final message to Earth. If we succeed, the galaxy will fear us. If we fail, humanity dies in shadows. Either way, we will never be dismissed again. She sent the message and prepared for war. The Kelthris system was dying. Admiral Daun watched the tactical display as the dead fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. What she saw made her stomach turn. Thousands of void swarm bioships surrounded the planet. They looked like massive insects made of infected flesh and dark metal. Some were small, the size of fighters. Others were huge, bigger than cities. All of them were moving toward the defending fleet. The Vrel Collective had brought everything they had. 300 warships formed defensive lines around their last colony world. Their ships were beautiful, covered in elegant curves and glowing energy shields. They fired weapons that lit up space like stars. None of it mattered. The swarm ships absorbed the energy. Their organic armor grew back as fast as it was damaged. Small creatures poured out of the bioships like insects from a nest. They swarmed over the Vrel vessels, tearing through shields and hull plating. Get me a direct line to the Vrel commander, Daun ordered. A hologram appeared on the bridge. Commander Tholis, the same Vrel who had laughed at humanity in the council chambers. His forearms were covered in blood. Behind him, his bridge was on fire. What do you want, human? Tholis snarled. Come to watch us die? We came to help, Daun said calmly. Tholis made a sound like bitter laughter. Your primitive weapons cannot stop this. Leave while you can. At least humanity will survive a few more weeks. Daun felt anger rise in her chest. She pushed it down. Commander, I'm offering coordination. We can turn this battle. You? Tholis looked at something off screen. Another explosion rocked his ship. You have 60 ships. We have 300. We are losing.
What can you possibly do?
Captain Dong-hyun leaned over and whispered, Admiral, permission to speak freely? Daun nodded. Dong-hyun grinned and opened a channel to Tholis. Commander, you're welcome to die alone. We'll watch. Make it entertaining at least. Dong-hyun. Daun snapped, but Tholis went silent. His forearms stopped moving. When he spoke again, his voice was different. You would let us die? After coming all this way? You laughed at us, Dong-hyun said. His grin faded. You called us primitive. You dismissed us as children, so yes, we'll let you die. Unless you want our help. Your choice, Commander. The bridge was silent. Dayun held her breath. Finally, Tholas bowed his head. I apologize. I was wrong. Please help us. We are dying, Dayun nodded. Transmit your tactical data. All fleet movements, all sensor readings. We'll handle the rest. The data came through. Tactical Officer Minji started analyzing it immediately. She was young but brilliant. Her fingers flew over the console. Admiral, I'm seeing a pattern. The swarm ships are coordinating through some kind of quantum network. There are larger vessels acting as nodes. If we destroy them, the smaller vessels lose coordination, Dawn finished. Good work. Mark all node vessels. Commander Haywon's voice came over the secure channel. Silent prayer to flagship. I can get close to those nodes. They won't see me coming. Do it, Dawn ordered. All ships prepare for combat. This is not a rescue mission. This is an extermination. The dead fleet moved forward. The first swarm ships to approach were the smaller ones. They swarmed toward the human vessels like insects toward light. The Vrel probably expected the humans to use energy weapons. That's what everyone in the galaxy used. Instead, the human ships opened fire with kinetic cannons. Solid metal slugs, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, tore through the swarm vessels. There was no energy to absorb, just pure kinetic force. The bioships exploded, their organic material scattered across space. Target the node vessels, Daon ordered. Fire antimatter torpedoes. Captain Sung-min's carrier iron rice bowl launched a salvo. The torpedoes streaked through space, leaving trails of light. When they hit the node vessels, reality seemed to tear apart. Matter and antimatter annihilated each other. The explosions were so bright that the sensors had to dim. 3 node vessels died instantly. The smaller swarm ships around them went crazy. Without coordination, they attacked each other. Some just stopped moving completely. It's working, Minji shouted. The network is disrupting. But the swarm adapted fast. New node vessels moved forward to replace the destroyed ones. And something else happened. The swarm ships changed their formation. They learned. They're getting smarter, Donghyun observed. We need something they can't adapt to. One Shik's voice came over the engineering channel. Admiral requesting permission to deploy the nanomachine swarms. Da-Yun hesitated. Nanomachine weapons were banned by the Council. They were considered crimes against sentience. The machines could tear apart biological matter at the molecular level. They could spread like a virus. A Vrel ship exploded on the tactical display. Thousands of lives gone in an instant. Permission granted, Da-Yun said. One Shik launched the weapon. Tiny containers, each smaller than a fist, shot toward the swarm vessels. They impacted the organic hulls and broke open. Nothing seemed to happen at first. Then the swarm ships started to fall apart. The nanomachines spread through the bioships like disease. They broke down the organic armor from the inside. The swarm vessels tried to regenerate, but that made it worse. The nanomachines used the regeneration process to spread faster. Within 10 minutes, 100 swarm ships were tearing themselves apart. On Tholas's bridge, the Vrel commander stared at his screens. What did you do? We adapted, Daun said coldly. Continue firing. Don't let them regroup. Lieutenant Bora launched her fighter wings. 300 small ships poured out of the iron rice bowl. They moved like a swarm themselves, but with purpose and coordination the enemy lacked. Bora's voice was steady on the command channel. All wings target the infected vessels. Don't let the nanomachines spread to friendly ships. And watch for debris. The enemy is adapting. The fighters attacked in waves. They used precision strikes, hitting weak points that Minji identified from her tactical analysis. Bora herself led the first wave. Her fighter danced through enemy fire. She took out 3 swarm vessels before having to pull back. Wing 7 is taking heavy fire, someone shouted. I see them, Bora said. Wings 3 and 4 provide cover. Everyone else stay on target. 2 of her fighters were destroyed. Daeon watched the indicators blink out. 20 pilots dead in seconds. Keep pushing, Daon ordered. She hated herself for it. Commander Haywon's silent prayer appeared next to a massive swarm node vessel. Nobody had seen her ship approach. That was the point. She fired a single torpedo at point-blank range, then disappeared again before the explosion. The node vessel died and 100 smaller ships lost control. Haywon status? Daeon asked. All systems normal, Admiral. Moving to next target. These creatures can't see me if I don't want them to. The battle raged for 6 hours. The swarm kept sending more ships. But the human tactics worked. The nanomachines spread, the kinetic weapons destroyed, the antimatter torpedoes ripped holes in space-time. And then Dong-hyun tried something new. "Admiral, I have an idea," he said. "It's going to sound insane. Everything we do is insane. Try me. The swarm ships are biological. They feel pain when damaged, right? What if we make them hurt more?" "Explain." "We broadcast specific frequencies, sound waves that resonate with their organic structure, make every hit more painful. Drive them crazy." Daun looked at Minji. "Will it work?" Minji checked her analysis. "Theoretically, yes. If we can find the right frequency, we could cause massive pain across their entire network. They might even retreat." "Do it," Daun ordered. The human ships began broadcasting. At first nothing happened. Then the swarm vessels started moving erratically. Some attacked each other. Some tried to flee. The hive mind was breaking down under the assault. Tholis watched from his damaged bridge. His forearms trembled. "You're torturing them. You're making them suffer on purpose." "Yes," Dayun said. "We are. This is monstrous. This is war, Commander. Either they die or you die. Choose." Tholis went quiet. The battle turned. The swarm started retreating. Not all of them, but enough. The human fleet pressed the advantage. They chased the fleeing bioships, destroying them one by one. Captain Dong-hyun activated the gravity hammer. The massive cannon charged with enough power to make the ship shake. When it fired, space itself seemed to scream. A dozen swarm vessels were caught in the gravitational pulse. They compressed smaller and smaller until they became a point of infinite density. A tiny black hole formed and immediately evaporated in a burst of radiation. "Gravity hammer depleted," the weapons officer reported. "Reactor needs 6 hours to recharge." "That's fine," Dong-hyun said quietly. "I don't think I want to fire that thing again anyway." By the time the swarm fully retreated, the Kelthris system was saved. But the cost was high. The Vrel had lost 200 of their 300 ships. The humans had lost 8 ships and 3,000 crew members. Bora's fighter wing had lost 40 pilots. She sat in her cockpit, too tired to move. Around her, the survivors flew back to the carrier. Nobody spoke. There was nothing to say. Taeyun stood on the bridge of the Machioli's Vengeance and stared at the debris field. Pieces of ships, both human and alien, floated in the darkness. Each piece represented lives lost. Tholis contacted her. His bridge was barely functioning. "Admiral Daun." "Thank you. You saved us," he paused. "But the way you fight, it's not like anything we've ever seen." "That's the point, Commander. You fight like demons." Dong-hyun leaned into the communication. "No, Commander. We fight like humans. There's a difference." After the transmission ended, Dawn looked at her crew. They were exhausted. Some were crying quietly. Others sat in shock. "Good work," she said. "Get some rest. This was just the first battle. There will be more." In her private quarters, Da-un accessed the tactical reports. Minji had discovered something in the final analysis. The swarm wasn't just attacking randomly. They were moving in a specific direction, like they were running from something. Da-yun made a note to investigate further. But for now, they had won. The galaxy had seen what humans could do, and the galaxy would never laugh at them again. 3 months into the campaign, Admiral Da-yun stood in front of a wall covered with names. Every human who had died fighting the Void Swarm. The list grew longer every day. 12,000 names now. 12,000 families who would never see their loved ones again. The dead fleet had pushed the swarm back across 6 sectors. Everywhere they went, they won. But the victories were becoming darker. Captain Dong-hyun entered the memorial room. He looked different now, thinner. His jokes had stopped weeks ago. The smile he used to wear was gone. "We have another council transmission," he said quietly. "They want to talk about our methods again." Daun turned from the wall. "What did we do this time?" "The Scorched Star Protocol. They're calling it genocide." Daeun closed her eyes. The Scorched Star Protocol was their newest tactic. When they cleared a system of swarm ships, they made sure the swarm could never use it again. They destroyed the planets, rendered the systems uninhabitable, dead zones where nothing could live. "It works," Dawn said. "The swarm needs resources. We deny them resources, I know, Admiral, but the Council species are scared. Not of the swarm anymore. Of us." They walked to the bridge together. Ambassador Jiwoo was already there, her hologram flickering on the main screen. Behind her, Representative Taeyang looked sick. "Admiral, Jiwoo said. Her voice was tired. The Thalen Unity has officially declared you a war criminal. The Morai Confederacy is considering the same. They're saying we're using weapons that should never exist. We are, Daon said simply. Tae-yang leaned forward. Admiral, please. We're supposed to be the good guys. We're supposed to save the galaxy, not terrify it. We are saving it, Daon replied. Every day the swarm loses ground. Every day fewer civilians die. That's what matters, but at what cost? Tae-yang pleaded. Yesterday you used the nanomachine weapons again. The swarm ships tore themselves apart. Some of them broadcast distress signals. They were begging for mercy and you kept firing. Dong-hyun spoke up. Those distress signals were tricks. The swarm was trying to make us hesitate. We've seen this before. You don't know that, Tae-yang shouted. The bridge went silent. Jiwoo held up her hand. Enough. Admiral, the Council has sent an official request. They want you to stop using the nanomachines. They want you to stop using the Scorched Star Protocol. They want you to fight cleanly. And if I refuse? Daeun asked. Then they'll try to stop you. Some species are talking about sending their own fleets to arrest you. Daeun laughed. It was a cold sound. Let them try. We'll be too busy winning their war for them. The transmission ended. Dong-hyun looked at Daeun with concern. Admiral, they're serious. We could end up fighting the very people we're trying to save. Then we fight them too, Daeun said. She walked to her command chair and sat down. Prepare the fleet. We move to the Harrow sector in 6 hours. Intelligence says there's a major swarm concentration there. In the engineering section, Wanshik was working on the Reaper protocol. He had been working on it for weeks, refining it, making it perfect. Tactical Officer Minji found him there late at night. You should rest, Minji said. Wanshik didn't look up from his work. Can't, the Admiral wants this ready, just in case. Do you ever think about what this weapon does? Minji asked. She sat down next to him. It kills everything. Every individual in a species. All at once. No chance to surrender. No chance to run. Just death. I think about it every day, Wanshik said quietly. But someone has to build it. Someone has to be ready for the worst option. Minji pulled out her datapad. I found something. In the swarm's movement patterns. They're not just attacking randomly. They're fleeing. Running from something in their home dimension. Wanshik finally looked at her. What do you mean? The swarm came to our universe because they lost a war. They're refugees. Minji's hands shook as she showed him the data. Everything we've been doing. We're killing refugees who were just trying to survive. Don't, Wanshik said. Don't make them sympathetic. That's not helpful. But what if it's true? What if we're the monsters in this story? Wanshik stood up. He was angry now. Then we're monsters, fine. But we're monsters who keep humanity alive. That's all that matters. Minji left without another word. The battle for Harrow sector was the worst yet. The swarm had gathered every ship they had left. Thousands of biovessels filled the space around the system's 3 planets. They knew the humans were coming. They were ready. Captain Shungmin's carrier Iron Rice Bowl led the attack. His fighter wings launched in massive waves. Lieutenant Bora had trained new pilots to replace the ones they lost. Most of them were barely 20 years old. Kids who should have been in college. All wings, attack formation Delta, Bora ordered. Her voice was steady but sad. She knew some of these pilots would die in the next hour. The fighters dove into the swarm formation. The enemy was ready. They had adapted to human tactics. They used tighter formations. They protected their node vessels better. Bora's fighter took a hit. Her left engine exploded. Alarm screamed in her cockpit. Wing leader is hit. Someone shouted, "Stay on mission." Bora yelled back. She fought with the controls, trying to stabilize her fighter. I'm fine. Complete your runs. She wasn't fine. Her fighter was dying, but she couldn't let her pilots see her panic. She kept fighting, kept firing, even as her ship fell apart around her. Commander Haewon's silent prayer appeared next to Bora's damaged fighter. Wing leader, I have you. Cutting your engines. Tractoring you back to the carrier. No, I can still fight. That's an order, Lieutenant. Stand down. Bora wanted to argue, but her fighter went dead. Haewon pulled her to safety. The battle raged on. The swarm fought with desperate fury. They knew this was one of their last stands. The human fleet pushed forward using every weapon they had. Dong-hyun activated the gravity hammer again. The weapon fired and space twisted, but something went wrong. The gravitational pulse was too strong. It didn't just compress the swarm ships. It created a real black hole. Small but growing. Emergency jump. Donghyun shouted. Get us out of here! The Machioli's vengeance barely escaped. Behind them, the black hole consumed everything nearby. Swarm ships, human ships, debris. It all disappeared into infinite darkness. How many ships did we lose? Taeyeon asked quietly. 3 destroyers. The carrier Eternal Dawn. 4,000 crew members, the tactical officer reported. 4,000 more names for the wall. Captain Seung-min's voice came over the channel. His carrier was heavily damaged.
Admiral, we can't keep this up.
My fighter wings are at 30% strength. We're running out of pilots. Understood, Da-eun said. Pull back and regroup. But the swarm pressed their advantage. They swarmed over the damaged human ships. The carrier Iron Rice Bowl was surrounded. Seung-min made a decision. All crew to escape pods, he ordered. Abandon ship. I'm setting the reactor to overload. Captain, no, Da-eun shouted. It's been an honor, Admiral, Seung-min said calmly. Tell my family I love them. The Iron Rice Bowl's reactor went critical. The explosion was massive. It took out the carrier and 300 swarm ships around it. Seung-min died with 2,000 of his crew. They had refused to evacuate. They had stayed with their captain to the end. The battle turned after that. The swarm broke. They fled. The human fleet won. But nobody celebrated. That night, Da-eun sat alone in her quarters. There was a knock on the door. Crew member Jae-sung entered. He was young, maybe 25. He had joined the dead fleet as an idealist. Now his eyes were hard. Admiral, can I speak freely? Go ahead. Are we the good guys anymore? Jae-sung asked. We're using banned weapons. We're destroying entire systems. We're killing an enemy that might just be trying to survive. When does it stop? When do we become the monsters? Da-eun looked at him for a long time. We're the ones who survive. That's all that matters. Is it? Is survival worth this price? Da-eun stood up. She was tired. So very tired. Get out. Admiral, I said get out. Jae-sung left. Da-eun sat back down and put her head in her hands. A message came through from Earth. Defense Minister Hyun-woo appeared on her private screen. Admiral, the Council has voted. If you use the Reaper Protocol, humanity will be expelled from the Council. Some species are threatening military action against us. What does the President say? Da-eun asked. Proceed anyway. Earth stands with you. Whatever you decide, whatever you have to do, we support you. The transmission ended. Da-eun called Won-shik. How close are you to finishing the Reaper Protocol? 2 weeks, maybe less. Admiral, are you sure about this? This weapon? There's no coming back from it. Prepare it anyway. We're going to end this war, one way or another. Ambassador Ji-woo sent a personal message. Da-eun listened to it alone. Da-eun, I know you're doing what you think is right. I know you're trying to save everyone. But please remember who we are. Remember what we stood for before this war. Don't let the fight change us into something worse than the enemy. Please. Da-eun deleted the message. She looked at the tactical map. The swarm was retreating to their final stronghold. A massive bioconstruct surrounding a dying star. Every surviving swarm vessel was gathering there. One final battle, one final choice. Da-eun opened a secure channel to all ship commanders. This is Admiral Da-eun. In 2 weeks, we attack the swarm's central nexus. We will bring the Reaper Protocol. We will end this war. Prepare your crews, and prepare yourselves for what comes after. She closed the channel and stared out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the swarm was waiting. And somewhere beyond that, the rest of the galaxy was watching, waiting to see if humanity would save them or become the next threat. Da-eun wondered if there was really a difference anymore. The swarm's central nexus looked like a nightmare made real. A massive organic structure wrapped around a dying red star. Bioships covered every surface like a disease. Millions of them. All that remained of the Void Swarm's forces. Admiral Dayun stood on the bridge of the Machiavelli's Vengeance and stared at the tactical display. The dead fleet had been reduced to 38 ships. They had started with 63, 25 ships gone, 35,000 crew members dead. Final count, Captain Donghyun said quietly. We're outnumbered 50-1. Then we better make every shot count, Daewon replied. The fleet had gathered at the edge of the system. Every remaining ship, every surviving crew member. They all knew this was the final battle. One way or another, the war would end today. Fleet Engineer Wan Shik contacted the bridge. Admiral, the Reaper protocol is ready. But I need to tell you something. The swarm's quantum network is stronger here than anywhere else. To disrupt it completely, we'll need to get close. Very close. How close? Dayan asked. Within the Nexus structure itself. We'll have to fight our way to the center. Dayun looked at the tactical display. Fighting through millions of swarm ships to reach the center was suicide. Most of the fleet would die. Understood, she said. Prepare the weapon. Ambassador Jiwoo's face appeared on the communication screen. Representative Taeyang stood beside her. Both looked exhausted. Admiral, please, Taeyang begged. Don't use the Reaper. Find another way. If you do this, if you commit genocide, humanity will never recover. The galaxy will never forgive us. The galaxy can judge us after we save them, Daewon said. This isn't saving, Jiwoo said. Her voice broke. This is murder. This is extinction. Please, Daewon. I'm begging you as a friend. Don't do this. Daewon closed her eyes. I'm sorry, Jiwoo. But I've already made my decision. The swarm dies today. She ended the transmission. Tactical Officer Minji stood up from her station. Her hands were shaking. Admiral, I need to tell you something. I've been analyzing swarm communications. They've been trying to talk to us for weeks. Trying to trick us, you mean? Donghyun said. No. Minji pulled up data on the main screen. Real communication. The swarm is sentient. They're not mindless. They came to our universe because they were fleeing. They lost a war in their home dimension. They were refugees. The bridge went silent. They're refugees who killed billions, Daewon said coldly. Because they were desperate. Because they had no choice. Minji's voice rose. Admiral, if we use the Reaper, we're killing an entire species that was just trying to survive. We're doing exactly what was done to them. Daewon felt something cold in her chest. Are you refusing orders, Tactical Officer? Minji straightened. Yes, Admiral, I am. I won't be part of this. Court-martial me if you want, but I won't help you commit genocide. Several other crew members stood up. They said nothing, but their message was clear. They agreed with Minji. Donghyun looked at Daewon. For the first time in months, his face showed real emotion. Admiral, maybe we should listen to her. Maybe there's another way. Daewon walked to the front of the bridge. She looked at her crew. Her people. They had followed her through hell. They had done terrible things in the name of survival. You're right, she said quietly. What we're about to do is wrong. It's murder. It's genocide. It will haunt us for the rest of our lives. She paused. But if we don't do it, the swarm will rebuild. They'll attack again. More billions will die. So I'm asking you, as your admiral, as a human being, to trust me one last time. Help me end this. Then we can face judgment together. The crew looked at each other. Slowly, one by one, they sat back down. Even Minji. They would follow her to the end. All ships, Daewon broadcast across the fleet. This is Admiral Daewon. Today we end this war. We will push through the swarm forces to reach the Nexus Center. Many of us will die, but humanity will survive. That's all that matters. Attack formation. Engage at will. The dead fleet moved forward. The swarm met them with everything they had. Millions of bioships swarmed toward the human vessels. The space between them filled with weapons fire, energy blasts, kinetic rounds, biological projectiles. Lieutenant Bora led her remaining fighter wings into the chaos. She had 50 fighters left. 50 out of the 300 she had started with. All the pilots with her now were survivors. They had seen things no one should see. They had done things no one should do. All wings protect the flagship, Bora ordered. No matter what happens, the Machiavelli's vengeance has to reach the center. The fighters formed a shield around the larger ships. Swarm creatures tore into them. Bora watched her pilots die one by one. Each death was a name she would remember forever. Commander Haewon's silent prayer was invisible as always. She moved through the swarm forces like a ghost, destroying node vessels, creating chaos. But there were too many. Even she couldn't stop them all. Admiral, Haewon reported. The swarm is adapting. They're learning to detect my ship. I can't stay hidden much longer. Then don't hide, Daeun said. Fight in the open. We need every ship. The silent prayer appeared in the middle of the swarm fleet and opened fire. Haewon had always fought from the shadows. Now she fought like everyone else, exposed, vulnerable, human. The dead fleet pushed deeper. Ships died on both sides. The Makgali's vengeance took hit after hit. Hull plating tore away. Decks decompressed. Hundreds of crew members died. Donghyun held the ship together through pure will. Reroute power from life support to shields. We don't need to breathe if we're dead. They reached the halfway point. 20 human ships remained. Then something changed. The swarm stopped attacking. Every bioship pulled back. The assault ended. Silence fell across the battlefield. A communication came through. Not in any language. In pure emotion. Fear, desperation, sadness. They're trying to talk, Minji whispered. A hologram appeared on the bridge. Not a swarm creature, a memory. An image from their collective consciousness. It showed a beautiful civilization. Organic cities. Billions of beings living in harmony. Then it showed darkness. Entities from beyond space-time. Things that should not exist. The swarm's home dimension dying. Their species fleeing. They're showing us what happened to them, Wanshik said. The hologram changed. It showed the swarm arriving in this universe, desperate, hungry, dying. They attacked because they had no choice. They killed because they were terrified. The hologram showed one final image. The swarm offering peace, offering to leave. To find empty space far from any civilization. To live quietly and never return. It's a trick, Donghyun said. But his voice was uncertain. What if it's not? Minji asked. Daeun stared at the hologram. She thought about the 12,000 names on the memorial wall. She thought about the billions of civilians who had died before humanity intervened. She thought about Chung-min, who had sacrificed himself and his ship. She thought about what it meant to be human. All ships, hold fire, Daeun ordered. Stand by. She looked at Wanshik. The Reaper Protocol. Can we fire it or not? Yes, Admiral. The weapon is ready, but... Wanshik hesitated. If you use it now after they offered peace, we'll never forgive ourselves. Daeun nodded slowly. She opened a channel to all ship commanders. This is Admiral Daeun. I'm calling for a vote. Should we use the Reaper Protocol? Or accept the swarm's offer of peace? Each ship commander gets one vote. The bridge crew stared at her in shock. Admiral, you can't be serious, Donghyun said. I am. This decision is too important for one person. We decide together. The votes came in. The fleet was split almost evenly. 10 ships voted to destroy the swarm. 9 voted for peace. Captain Donghyun's vote would break the tie. He sat in his command chair for a long time. Daeun watched him struggle with the decision. Finally, he spoke. We came here to end this war. To save the galaxy. To protect humanity. He paused. But what's the point of protecting humanity if we lose what makes us human? I vote for peace. Let them go. Daeun felt something break inside her chest. Relief. Sadness. Exhaustion. The vote is decided, she announced. We accept the swarm's offer. They will leave. The war is over. Minji started crying. Wanshik collapsed in his chair. Across the fleet, crew members broke down, the weight of everything they had done finally hitting them. But then alarm screamed. The dimensional rift behind the swarm nexus was opening. Something was coming through. Something that made the swarm look harmless. Admiral, massive energy readings. Minji shouted. The entities that destroyed the swarm's home dimension. They're here! Dark shapes emerged from the rift. They were not ships. They were not creatures. They were concepts given form. Horror and hunger and endless darkness. The swarm bioships turned to face the new threat. They broadcast one final message to the human fleet. Gratitude and a warning. Then the swarm charged at the dimensional entities. Every single ship. They knew they would die, but they fought anyway. Buying time for humanity to escape. All ships, emergency jump. Daeun ordered. Get out of the system now. The dead fleet fled. Behind them, the swarm fought their final battle. They died to save the species that had nearly destroyed them. The dimensional rift collapsed. The dying star imploded. Everything disappeared in a flash of light. 20 human ships escaped. 40,000 crew members survived out of the 60,000 who had started the campaign. The war was over. 5 years passed. Admiral Daun stood at a memorial ceremony on Earth. Thousands of people gathered to remember those who had died. The names covered entire walls now.
Human names.
Alien names. Even swarm designations, added by Minji to honor their final sacrifice. Dayon was old now. The war had aged her decades in months. She had retired after returning home. The council had court-martialed her, then secretly pardoned her when they realized she had saved everyone. A young girl stood next to Daun. Her name was Yuna. She was from the Kelthris system. Her family had died in the swarm's first attack. Daun had adopted her. "Grandma," Yuna asked, "were you a hero or a monster?" Daun looked down at her. "I was human. That's all I needed to be." The ceremony ended. People dispersed. Daun stayed at the memorial reading names. So many names. Her communicator buzzed. Commander Haywon's face appeared. She looked worried. "Admiral, you need to see this." Deep space monitoring stations detected something. Quantum signatures at the edge of the galaxy. The same signatures we saw when the dimensional rift opened. Daun felt cold. "The entities are coming. Yes, we have maybe 5 years before they arrive. Maybe less." Daun looked at the memorial one last time. Then she looked at Yuna. The girl was playing with other children, laughing and happy, innocent. "Contact Defense Minister Hyun-woo," Daun said. "Tell him we need to build a new fleet. Something even stronger than the dead fleet." "Admiral, if we build something like that, the galaxy will never trust us. They barely accept us now, I know. But someone has to protect them. Someone has to be ready to face the darkness." Daun paused. "It might as well be us." Ambassador Jiwoo sent a message that night. The Galactic Council was meeting. The elder species had detected the same quantum signatures. They were terrified. They were asking humanity to lead the defense. This time they were not laughing. This time they were begging. Daun sat in her home and looked at the stars. The dead fleet's surviving ships were still out there hidden beyond Neptune. Waiting. Always waiting. Humanity had answered the galaxy's cry for help once before. They had saved civilization. They had paid the price in blood and souls and innocence. Now the galaxy was crying again. And humanity would answer again. Because that's what humans did. They survived. They fought. They protected those who could not protect themselves, even if it made them monsters. Even if it cost them everything. The galaxy cried that it was losing the war. Humanity answered, and the galaxy learned that sometimes salvation wears a terrible face. But it was still salvation. And in the end, that was all that mattered.